Margarita is Ukrainian, and she's with me today because we want to shed some light on the situation and maybe get a internal perspective from what's going on in Ukraine. She lives in Vienna. She's a master student of Anglophone literature and culture. Sorry about that. I used to say you're still studying, but I'm still learning the different names of master degrees. University of Vienna?
Yes, that's the University of Vienna.
Great.
Doing my master's studies.
So she, as I said, she's from Ukraine. She's Ukrainian, and she actually was born in the region of Odesa, where many things are going on right now. But as she lives in Vienna, she will also help us to identify a lot of things that we might do to help Ukraine at this very, very moment. Because I know many people also who've been texting me saying like, I want to do something, but I don't know what exactly to do about it. And I'm also one of those people that would like to help, but don't know how exactly I can help from over here in Vienna, where the war situation is still just on the news. First of all, thanks for coming.
Thank you for inviting me. That's an honor.
Oh, thank you very much. And first of all, what's the situation over there? And do you still have people or family members that live in the region of Odessa?
Yes, actually, my family is still in that region, and I'm right now in the process of convincing them to flee, which is not an easy thing either, because, for example, elderly generation, my granny, she's refusing to flee. Although I could assist her. But there are many people in that region still, because many of them have troubles to even reach to the border of Ukraine with the European Union countries.
Because I see the latest report from the UN agency, refugee agency, that they say that more than 360 people have fled the country, and this is like a last minute report 2 hours ago, 1 hour ago. And we'd like to understand, why is it difficult to leave the country when we see so many people leaving the country in just 2 days or 3 days?
Right. So the problem is that there is no transport, no public transport going between the cities, or very rarely. So
this is because it stopped just now, or it has never been a proper public transport?
The opportunity has always been there, So it's never been a problem up until now, actually, because the cities, the towns are urged not to use the civilian cars, not to take on buses, because the Ukrainian armed forces, they need to identify the troops. So they cancel a lot of railway rides, right, or buses between the towns. So that's where the situation gets really challenging.
But how are these other people that I read here living? What is it? Maybe they're closer to the borders from other countries, or what?
It depends, but they've left earlier. I mean, there is still a chance to
The number is increasing rapidly. They haven't left only earlier. And the first day, I think, or the next day, it was about 20,000 people. Now there are more than 360,000 people. So the number is increasing very fast, which means that something is working to make them leave the country, to help them leave the country.
Right. Actually, volunteers help them do so. So, taking the example of my mom, for example, she wanted to buy tickets to Lviv, which is closer to the border with Poland, and there are just no tickets for these trains. So the next ticket she managed to get would be for the 2nd of March, right? So there is no way people can flee the country using the national railway. That's why volunteers organize buses, organize cars, people cooperate with each other unite with or join with other families and order buses to move them to the borders. Yeah.
I will stop you for a moment. You're saying that your mom got a ticket for the 2nd of March?
Yeah.
Yes, so this sounds pretty organized to me, like scheduling a ticket up front for an exact day, comparing to what we saw not long ago in Afghanistan when people were literally jumping over planes to leave the country ASAP. So comparing to that, from 1 to 10, how similar is the situation? Because when you say my mom has booked a ticket for the 2nd of March, doesn't sound that chaotic.
It's not chaotic, but it unfortunately may be a bit late because the situation changes every minute. Yeah, and I really wouldn't want anyone to wait till the 2nd of March. Yeah, there are still many days to wait for this date, and Ukrainian territories, they are getting attacked every single moment, which may also be possible that the railway connection could be destroyed. I hope it won't happen, but really waiting so long may be very risky. That's why, so I wanted my mom to leave today actually, or tomorrow. But there are just no tickets. There were 2 tickets left for the 2nd of March.
How's the phone connection? Do you speak with your mom right now?
Yes, it's working.
Because I heard they are
well.
also attacking internet connections, phone connections.
Oh, this is actually not true.
It's
luckily. Yeah, everything works well. This is a really good thing because we have to stay connected. So also mobile providers, they work on establishing proper flawless connection everywhere in Ukraine. That's why I'm constantly keeping in touch with my mom, with my granny, and so that's a good thing.
Yeah, luckily.
Yeah, but mostly the transportation of people is done with the help of volunteers.
Where are they mostly moving to? To Poland?
Many of them stand at the borders of Poland. Huge number of people.
To the border? Poland is not letting them in?
No, they're letting them
But there are
in.
just a lot of people.
So many people, yeah. So they also need their time to guide these people to shelters, to provide help, to to take care of these people. Yeah. So the borders are open for now. That's what I know. So they don't even need visas or international passports. Yeah, they can travel with their birth certificates when it comes to kids, or with their national passports if there are adults, right?
You also lived in Poland and you speak Polish, and what is their approach towards it, like as a neighbor country? What do the media say over there? What's the public opinion? Because we can't understand what could be going on there. And you probably maybe read also some Polish news, or?
Absolutely. From what I know right now, they're extremely supportive. And I think so Poland is the country that supports us the best in this situation, because I know that there are lots of demonstrations going on in Polish towns and cities. People are welcoming refugees from Ukraine, helping them with accommodation, translation, providing food, clothes. Also, many friends from Poland reached out to me personally, expressing their deepest concern, their prayers. They are asking them whether they could help me or someone I know, and they are being really extremely supportive right now.
That's luckily
also
very good.
Hosting some people in their own apartments, really being as welcoming as possible right now.
Do you have your own personal opinion, but really what do you think that started this? Why wants Russia to take, what does Russia want to take from Ukraine, and why? But your own personal opinion as an Ukrainian, not from the news, not from the politics that you might heard of. What's your personal opinion?
Yeah. So I think there are two theories to this, actually. The first is that Russia has never wanted Ukraine to exist, really.
In what sense?
If we look at history, they abandoned Ukrainian language, Ukrainian culture since the Russian Imperium, for example. And they never wanted to acknowledge
their origin
the
from
independency.
Ukraine also. There is some kind of origin of Russians that derives from Ukraine. Is that true?
Yes, but I would not comment on this because I'm not sure about the facts, But what I know is that really they never wanted us to be a sovereign country. And also in the 20th century, 19th century, they repressed a lot of Ukrainian authors or Ukrainian artists or something, just to kill the traditions of Ukraine or to forbid the language.
They did the same thing with Russian artists as well. At some point, they made I forgot they made Pasternak return his Nobel Prize.
Yeah.
So they do. This is like a suicide. It's not just against Ukraine. So it doesn't really sound like a main reason to evaporate Ukraine. This is what they do with artists, let's say.
Yeah.
Or they used to do, because I don't know if they do it so far.
Yeah, but the thing what Russians promote very much is that, this notion of brotherhood. They always claim Ukraine to be their brother.
But it's not true?
Absolutely not true, because we have our traditions.
You're
our
talking
language.
about the politicians in this moment, or also the Russian people?
I'd say Russian people are very much influenced by the media, which are controlled by the Russian government. Yeah. And this notion of brotherhood between the countries, it's been false, because actually Ukrainians also are different from Russians character-wise, and I also personally see it. And Ukrainians don't acknowledge Russians as brothers, but because there has been this thing as Imperium first and then the Soviet Union, and Russia wanted to keep Ukraine as their ally all the time, forcing their media to claim that, but Ukraine is our little brother, so to say, which is not.
It's an independent country.
It's an independent country, yeah. And in Soviet Union,
they were one
joined.
country, yeah.
Yes, but still we were different, and we were fighting for our language or for our independency. And now what Putin claims is that there are neo-Nazis in Ukraine who want to separate or change the vector of Ukraine in the more western direction, and that Ukrainians who speak Russian have to be saved in Ukraine. And actually there is no one to be saved. No one is repressed in Ukraine. Even if people speak Russian, so many people speak Russian. My family also speaks Russian, but we've never felt suppressed by Ukrainian government. The second reason of the invasion, I think, is the talks of joining Nato.
I wanted to ask you about this. Before these last 3 days, what's the approach of Ukrainians for NATO? Do they want to join NATO or they don't?
Honestly,
both governmental opinion and population opinion. I'd like to know.
So government wants to join NATO for sure. People are hesitant.
But now, are you also the people asking for the help of NATO?
Right now, yes.
So the same people that are hesitating to join the NATO now want the help from NATO.
Yeah. So I can't tell about everyone, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to the opinion of my family, they want neither Russia nor NATO.
Why is it so?
Because many
In
people...
Russia, I understand, but why not NATO?
Yeah, because they assume that life wouldn't be better if we ally with Russia or NATO. We have to be our own independent country with our own independent armed forces. I'm not an expert in this. I can't say much, but what people really demand right now is to NATO to close the sky over Ukraine.
Yeah, this is
That's the only
very interesting thing which we don't really understand. What does it mean that you're asking for NATO to close the skies of Ukraine?
Mm-hmm.
Even physically, people don't understand that.
Mm-hmm.
In the first thing, we don't understand how NATO can close the sky.
Right. Yeah, so people don't really demand NATO to join the forces on land. Yeah, to join
You don't
the fight.
need land help right now?
We would need it, but at least now it's not the highest demand, because our army is forced or is capable of protecting the Ukrainian territories by itself now.
Because another last minute thing I see is that Portugal is going to supply military equipment to Kiev.
Yeah, so when it comes to NATO closing the sky over Ukraine, that means that they can officially forbid Russian aircraft from entering the airspace.
But how can
over
they?
Ukraine.
Because Ukraine is not in NATO. How can they intervene in a country that hasn't agreed to be protected by NATO?
Yeah, but they can pledge for it.
Mm.
Yeah, they can urge it. So even if they're not a main member of NATO, they can still ask NATO to do at least this, because Ukraine, for now, luckily, and I hope it stays so, is capable of protecting itself on land. Yeah, especially using the help of other countries who are providing the military help. So we don't need forces of NATO to join us, because many people think that if NATO and Russia fight with each other on Ukrainian land, that could lead to the World War III.
So you also to this opinion that this could be the beginning of World War III?
I don't think so, personally. This is what I hear from people. Yeah, that if Russia and NATO unite, they think it could spread all over Europe. I'm not sure how much truth is in it. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so that it would spread all around Europe. But closing the sky would help us, because Russia has started attacking Ukraine from
the sky.
So
has your city or close to your family any place been attacked so far? Does your member of the family hear bombings or gunfights?
Yeah, absolutely, they do. Yeah, they absolutely do, and it mostly comes from the port. Yeah, from the Black Sea coast. Yeah, so there is not much going on in the cities, but rather at the coast. Yeah, and at the pier, or where the ships are, because they are trying to destabilize the situation on the sea. And also, right before we started talking, I saw that Russia has occupied 2 ships with Ukrainian passengers in the sea, and there is no connection to any of these ships right now. Yeah.
Would you rather go back there and fight now, or are you more useful here in Vienna?
I'd say I'm trying to be useful anywhere I am, right? And
is it possible for you to travel back now there?
Yes, it would be possible, but I also logically understand that this is not the best idea right now. Although I would personally want to protect my country, and I also...
would you be ready to grab a gun and protect the country, literally protect the country with a gun?
Honestly, I never thought I would be able to. But when it comes to the safety of my country, of my friends, of my family, I'm sure I would be able to do so. And this is what I talked about with my friends, that really, this is something that Ukrainians have in their blood, that if we feel the attack, we are not running away. We really
Stick
try
together.
to stick together and fight. Because we've been fighting for freedom for so many years, and we have been repressed by Russia and the government so many years. So really now Ukrainians are united, extremely, united well together, and everyone wants to be helpful as much as they can.
Did you see this coming? You personally, but also your people, Ukrainians.
I think we started getting some kind of information on that, on Russia's possible plans or ideas of invading Ukraine around December last year. Yeah, I don't remember exactly when we started getting such news, but Russians started destabilizing the situation in the temporarily occupied territories of Lugansk and Donetsk. And when they proclaimed the independency of these occupied territories, it was pretty clear that it would enable Russia to do further steps to invade Ukraine further. Yeah. So I think around December, January,
You
people
started to
sensing
notice
so.
something.
But actually, I don't think anyone treated it seriously, because also talking to my friends of my parents, they thought, yeah, it's just the manipulation, it's just the psychological pressure. And well, it turned out that it's not only psychological
You
pressure.
think you should have been prepared and taken that seriously since
Yeah.
December?
Absolutely.
So now you are completely not prepared for this.
Actually, I'm
Whose fault was it for not taking it seriously? Government's fault? Ukrainian? Zelensky's?
I don't think it's a government fault, because actually Ukrainian army is surprisingly well prepared right now.
Why surprisingly?
Because we're not considered to be a strong army.
You have about 200,000 people in the army? Something like this? Or am I wrong?
I can't tell you, unfortunately. Yeah,
because I read something that said that no, I think Ukraine has about 250,000 people in the army, but Russia has about 200 people only in the border with Ukraine right now.
Yeah, so actually people are joining the armed forces of Ukraine every single day. And there are queues to join the army. And really people who never thought they would take the gun and they would have to participate in something like this, they are tirelessly and bravely going and joining the forces. There is no fear. The people just don't have it anymore. So they do what they need to do. And I would say Ukrainian government has been prepared. They have been notifying people of it, and I think it's more about people who still tried to believe that everything will come into it. So everything will be peaceful. Yeah. And
not long ago, because I want to say this, the second biggest massacre in Europe, I believe, maybe I'm not that correct in this fact, after Dresden, is the Srebrenica massacre in Bosnia by the Serbian army. That they killed more than 8,000 people, mostly men, in about 10 days. So, but right now, comparing to that, we see much less casualties happening in Ukraine, and still the news is huge. And I believe it will last a bit longer, even comparing to Afghanistan news. months ago. So why is this so? Could this be just because now we're living in the internet era, or this is really that big as the attention that it is getting?
You mean the war that's going on
Yes.
right now? It is huge. It is huge.
It's not exaggerated at all, right?
No, not at all. Really, houses are being destroyed. Russians are now... So Putin and Russian forces, they've promised that they would only attack directly military spots. Yeah, so they would not destroy civil houses or hospitals.
But they're still attacking them?
They're still doing that, yeah. And they're killing families, also the ones that are traveling with civilian cars, or also raiding the orphanages or children hospitals, which is a totally terrible thing.
Would this have been much more harder to manage if it happened, let's say, 20 years ago without internet, and the news would just spread much slower than now?
Yes, absolutely, yeah, because we get all the necessary information very, very quickly. Yeah, so people are also capable of hiding into the nearest shelters whenever they see or hear the alarm, the sirens. Yeah, and they also get notifications that they need to hide immediately. Also they...
Are you doing shifts as well in Odessa? Vigilance shifts?
Yes. Actually, I don't know much about that, but I know that people are staying awake and alert all the time. Yeah. So there is not even any break between the news. So we get updates every couple of minutes, every minute maybe.
So is it that people right now in Ukraine don't really sit on couches and sofas, but they stay on the ground mostly?
Yeah. So
This is the latest image that I have of war since the 97 civil war in Albania, that we used to stay down, not in the sofas, because bullets could come from the windows.
yeah.
Is it the same thing?
Yes, absolutely. So personally, my mom and my granny, they are sleeping in the basement. Yeah, they don't have heat there, they don't have furniture there, but staying in the apartments, especially during the night, when people lose their alertness, the attention, is too dangerous. So most of the people, also the parents of my friends here, they also have moved to the basements, to shelters. Yeah, and in the cities where there are underground stations, they also spend nights there. Yeah.
Have Russia already attacked any electricity source, like big electricity centrals or something? How's the electricity situation?
It's well protected now. If I'm not mistaken, they tried to attack it, but actually everything is working properly. I don't want to give any information which I'm not certain about. Sure. But I think railway stations, or also some civilians' houses, they just turn off the electricity or turn off the lights to destabilize or to mislead the forces. Yeah, because people just don't want to be visible from above. Yeah, if there is light anywhere, that means that there are people there. Yeah, so this is the means of protecting themselves.
To turn it a little in the social context, I saw that at the opera of Vienna there was a opera conductor who was Russian, but he was expelled from conducting an opera because he's a Putin supporter.
Oh, really? I didn't know that, actually.
Personally, it doesn't seem like a okay move to me because it doesn't really matter at this point. But do you believe this is like throwing gasoline to the fire between Russians and Ukrainians? Because I also know personally a lot of Russians who are completely against this war and they feel very sorry about this and also ashamed. Is this a nice move to start doing things like firing people because they're Russians, neglecting their visas because they're Russians? Doesn't this perforce the aggression between the two countries?
My personal opinion, being sorry is not enough. If Russians stand up, if Russians go on protests, if Russians contact their
You think
embassies,
the protest changes anything with a guy like Putin?
people should not have fear. We also Ukrainians had to stand up in 2013, 2014 to show the Ukrainian government, the former Ukrainian government, that we are not brothers with Russia, that we don't want to be the same country, that we have our own interests. And we were also attacked by the police, by the people of Ukraine.
But in the social context, you think this hate against Russians is fair at the moment? Is it needed, or we also have to stick together, like together against the war? It doesn't matter where we're from. Now I think the enemy is Putin. It's not the population, or?
Okay, Putin, yes, but there is also a lot of propaganda in Russia, and also many channels, be it on Facebook, Telegram, any social media, that promote hatred, that spreads misinformation about Ukrainians, about Ukrainian forces, and that's why.
For example,
falsifying the numbers of Ukrainians, who are being killed, or
lowering or increasing the number.
Increasing them, yeah. Or also people who openly support Putin and call it a peaceful operation, a peaceful mission to get rid of a Nazi regime in Ukraine, which is not existent in Ukraine, absolutely. But they spread so much misinformation that, no matter how sorry they may feel, they can stand up still. Russia is a huge country with lots of people, and if they stood up, they would be unbeatable by their own forces.
You think they can overthrow Putin?
I think they can.
The guy's been standing there for more than 30 years as head of government, and before that he was the head of future KGB, I don't know how they call it now. The intelligence agency in Russia. So he's been around for about 30 years, sorry.
Yeah.
And they can overthrow if they stand up now? When he's carrying bombs and guns and he's more angry than ever? Could that work, you think?
I think if people really stand together, they can beat him. I believe so, because no matter how challenging the situation has been in Ukraine, for example, we stood up. Even if we were attacked by the bullets of people of our own country, or threatened or imprisoned and so on, we still wanted the freedom of speech. We still wanted our freedom and democracy. And if people do not react, if people only say we are sorry, that's not enough. I understand that whoever goes and protests in Russia is threatened, as well as in Belarus now. But still, people can do something. People can at least spread the truthful information about what's going on in Ukraine. They can show the world, they can show other people in Russia that it's not a peaceful mission, it's a real attack on civilians. And there is no truth in Russian media, and they should do that, at least, provide the information or spread the information and switch off the propaganda.
Yeah. going back to where we started, how can people in Vienna help? Do you have concrete steps?
Right, so there are actually many ways to help Ukrainians right now in Vienna. So first of all, there are demonstrations against the war in support of Ukraine every day in Vienna.
Where?
We're talking, for example, today.
Today it's Sunday 27th.
Yeah, so there will be a demonstration at 8 p.m. at Heldenplatz, which is organized by Caritas. Yeah. Yesterday we had a huge demonstration at Platz der Menschenrechte, and I think thousands of people have joined it. Also those who don't speak Ukrainian, who just wanted to show their solidarity. And so besides demonstrations, one can also provide the humanitarian help. So anything is needed, which is food, clothes, money, medical help, medical supplies, which is transferred to the border of Ukraine.
Who's taking care of transporting them?
We are ordering buses. So the spot where Austrians...
You say we. How are you involved in this?
I'm also the part of it. I'm also helping with spreading information or spreading information about the demonstrations or ways Austrians...
So an activist right now.
Yes. Actually, the whole Ukrainian community in Vienna
is an activist right now.
Is an activist. Yeah, everyone is doing what they can. But there are two spots in Vienna. I hope it's safe to share them, but the one of them is...
I think Vienna is pretty safe.
Okay. So the first spot is Saint Barbara Church.
Which one is it?
It's...
Maybe people can Google it.
Yes. There are actually two spots on the same location. Yeah. So there is a church, Ukrainian Catholic church, and next to it, which is actually the same building, is the Ukrainian cultural area, which is now transformed into the office of helping Ukrainians. Yeah, and everyone is welcome to join, Ukrainians and Austrians, anyone. The address is Postgasse 8. So
I will have this written in the description, so people can
great.
look at it.
So this spot is between Schwedenplatz and Stubentor. Yeah. So people can come there anytime. We have now huge supplies of medicaments which are needed or which need to be transported to Ukraine or the borders. Yeah. So people can also bring clothes there, food, donate money. Also, the church that I've just mentioned, they opened the bank account for Austrians to help Ukraine right now. That's the proven source. They are reliable. I know everyone from there, and it's really safe for the nations.
Talking about bank accounts, how will the prevention of SWIFT starting tomorrow will affect Ukrainians in Vienna or in Austria?
I don't think it's
not
affect
Ukraine. It's not very related to transactions in SWIFT. It's just a Russian thing.
No, so Russia is being excluded from using SWIFT, but Ukraine not. Yeah, okay. So Ukraine keeps using it. Yeah, and also when it comes to demonstrations, just once again.
Sure.
This cultural spot, which is called Barbareum, at Postgasse 8, they are also informing people about the demonstrations or ways to help. And they have a page on Instagram where everyone can find information.
What's the name of the page?
Barbareum.
Oh,
Barbareum.
Okay. I will also write this down.
Or also Tuma, Austria. Yeah, I can also provide the link if needed. And they also look for volunteers who can help with translations of news or...
Ukrainian volunteers.
Yes. or anyone who can translate to English, German, Russian, Ukrainian. So any help is appreciated. Also, they are looking for people who can do transportations, who have their cars, minivans, buses, who can transport people from the borders of Poland, Slovakia, Hungary to Austria. Yeah.
Do you know of, or maybe you heard something of a number of refugees coming in Austria or in Vienna today or tomorrow?
I don't know the exact number, but I think today the community is expecting around 50 refugees so far.
Vienna?
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
It's not safe, for example, to keep the refugees just in the border of Austria? Why Vienna, let's say? Because how far are we from the closest border? I think Burgenland, it's about 600 kilometers from the border with Ukraine. This is not a fact. I might be wrong, but Vienna, it's even quite further.
Yeah, I'm not sure that people are coming directly to Vienna. Yeah, I just know that the biggest, volunteer spot is in Vienna. So the majority of volunteers or activists are in Vienna. But that doesn't mean that people are only coming to Vienna. Yeah. They just need to reach Austria, and then they can be allocated to different places around Austria. I just know that these, two spots, which is the church and Barbarium, which is the cultural spot, they do the most of work when it comes to helping Ukraine.
And how is the Austrian government reacting to the situation? How are they being helpful to the Ukrainians here and also Ukrainians in Ukraine?
I think they are becoming more supportive than they used to be even a month ago, I think. Because
are they clearly stating their side against Russia on this, or they're trying to say it but not really clear?
I'd say they are changing their mind now, towards being more supportive of Ukraine, because also when we have demonstrations, we are normally joined by some media channels or politicians. That doesn't mean that these demonstrations are political. They're independent, but still politicians, they want to support us. Also, Austria, as far as I know, is preparing to accept refugees. So I think it would be possible to urge the government to be issued with the allowance to stay in Austria without visa. And also Austria has closed their airspace for Russia today, so they won't be accepting any flights
directly from Russia?
Right, yeah.
What if they transit from another country? Can they still enter?
No, because the majority of European countries have closed their aircraft. So
there's still this hatred spread against Russians in Austria.
It's not. I don't want to call it hatred, because, for example, we also have many Russians joining Ukrainian demonstrations. I would say that, or my suggestion to them is to go on their own demonstrations, to actually cooperate with fellow Russians here, to stand against the regime, and to request the democracy in their own country. I know personally, I also know Russians who are against of what Putin does right now, and they don't want war. And the mothers of the troops who are currently occupying Ukrainian territories, they don't want their sons to go to war. And actually, I have a feeling that also the soldiers in Ukraine, they've been misinformed. because they also, many of them claim that they didn't know they go to war. They thought that there would be some just a peaceful mission or some training.
Yeah. I will have to compare this Russian position right now, Russian people position with most probably I will have a Russian after this on an interview, because I really want to know what they think. I'm really doubtful that they support this to start with. But second, I will have to double check with them, how is this thing that what happens if they go to protest over there? Because, for example, I would feel very sorry if I'm not proud of my government from the country where I'm from, and if I wanted to flee the country, I would feel very, very sorry if the country wouldn't let me in just because I'm coming from that country, which I don't support. Because somehow that's also the answer that I'm giving to that government too. I'm leaving the country because I don't want to be part of it anymore. So this I will have to double check with the Russian. But I'd like to ask you now, your prime minister has said that he's open to negotiations, but he doesn't want to do that in Belarus.
Yes, so that was our president.
It was the president.
Yes, Zelensky.
Sorry.
Right. So the thing is, Zelensky and the whole government would be open for negotiations with Russia, but somewhere where they don't fight. So initially, the meeting spot would have been Minsk, which is the capital of Belarus. But since Belarus is also doing air raids on Ukraine right now, which means they're joining Russian forces and they are stating it.
So if they go to talk there, they go to the mouth of the wolf.
Yes. So Zelensky right now, he has declined meeting for negotiations in Belarus. And
where he wants to hold it?
Anywhere else, including Vienna, where it is peaceful and they can meet at the neutral territory. Yeah. But right before we started talking, Belarus has imposed an ultimatum for Ukrainian government that they're giving them 24 hours to make a decision to...
Who has given the ultimatum to?
Russia and Belarus. Yeah, so the negotiations had needed to be done today, actually. Yeah, and when Belarus started attacking Ukraine too, Zelensky declined doing these negotiations because one of the criteria...
Wait, sorry. Belarus is attacking Ukraine too?
Yes, since yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, because they are joining Russian forces and the first...
Is Lukashenko the head of these attacks?
Yes. Yes, and he
Why is he not getting the right attention on the media and only Putin does? Could this be a maneuver from the media as well, because they want to spread more hatred towards Putin than Lukashenko?
I think it just started right now. Yeah, because I personally only found out that Lukashenko has officially confirmed doing air raids over Ukraine today.
So there are two countries against one country, and this is basically world war, because it's not just two countries between them.
I hope it won't be, but Lukashenko has always been the supporter of Putin.
Yeah,
so
they've been going on for 30 years, both of them.
Yeah, so no one is surprised, unfortunately. And so Zelensky doesn't want to do these negotiations anymore in this form, in Belarus. And I think just a minute before we met, I read that Zelensky had a negotiation with Lukashenko. He spoke to him personally. I don't yet know what the conclusion is. But we can't accept the criteria of Russia and Belarus when it comes to these negotiations. Yeah.
What is the position that Ukraine wants to keep on this negotiation? Is it public, or they just want to go and talk at first? How are they approaching Russia if they go and sit together?
So the main demand is to withdraw
First, of
Russian
course.
forces first of all. Yeah, and I don't yet know. I'm also curious, to check the news and see what the result of the negotiation is, or at least the phone call that they've had. But definitely, we won't be given our territories under any ultimatum. And this is not, in case Russia wants us to surrender, we won't.
You will fight till the end.
Yes.
Let's see if they come to a conclusion right now, but no, not yet. As I see, as you said, also other countries are closing the airspace for Russian aircraft. France has just done that. Russia faces sporting fallout over invasion of Ukraine. Kiev's defense holding firm. Mayor says, is the mayor of Kiev Klitschko?
Yeah.
You have a funny thing of electing politicians. One is an ex-boxer, one is an ex-comedian.
Yeah.
Did you vote for any of them? Or you can't vote in Kiev, right? But
I can't vote in Kiev.
You can?
I can't.
You can't, right?
Yeah. But truth to be told, I didn't vote for Zelensky. I just didn't believe that the comedian actor can be a good president, having no experience and no knowledge. But from what is happening now, every Ukrainian will agree that Zelensky is doing a terrific job protecting our country. And
how long has he been in power? 2 years or something?
Yes, yes.
And how has he been in these 2 years? Were you disappointed or not?
We haven't seen much improvement. I mean, I personally saw a clear position towards keeping Ukraine's independence and being very strict with Russia and moving towards towards the democracy and European values. So I can't say it's been a bad job.
Yeah.
Done.
Well, 2 years, it's still not that much. You don't really have much time to express yourself as a president. So.
Right. Yeah.
Plus, the pandemic has been going on. It's still hard. So.
Yeah. But what is happening now really shows how patriotic and how pro-Ukrainian Zelensky is. Even people who didn't vote for him, including me, are now sensing that it's I think no one could protect our country better. None of the former presidents could protect our country better than Zelensky does it now.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's a huge surprise, but it's a very positive one.
Yeah. Well, so far I see that there's still no news of what Zelensky has spoken with Lukashenko. Mm-hmm. He just said that he spoke, but no details. I see because I keep reading news about how bad the internet access has been in Ukraine, which you which you said this is not true. Mm-hmm. But I see now that maybe this is just the media. Elon Musk says that he's going to activate his internet services through satellites in Ukraine to help them because they have been disrupted by Russian attacks. I don't know if this is true. You tell me, but...
Yeah, Elon Musk stated that he will do that. Yeah. I unfortunately don't remember the name of the service he
That's
has.
Okay, Starlink I think, but Starlink, it doesn't really matter right now. Yeah. Because I also, when I had a phone call with Ukraine, internet phone call, it was pretty smooth, no problem. And they said that there has been some attempts, but mostly hacking of the systems, not shutting down.
Yeah, well, when it comes to, for example, keeping in touch with my mom...
It works fine?
It works fine. Yeah.
Great. At least.
On the first day of the invasion, which was 24th of February, I indeed couldn't reach my mom quite a lot of times, which made me terribly scared because whenever, people don't pick up, others think that something might have happened. So there was a little destabilization on the first day of the invasion, but now I think, luckily, it's okay. So I can reach my mom anytime, for example, or I can keep in touch with my friends as well, getting used to,
I have two more questions.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, what would you say if it was you to be sitting and negotiating with Putin? What did you tell him?
Oh, that's a tricky question.
It's not tricky. Just express yourself. You're Ukrainian, he's invading your country and bombing literally close to where your family is right now. And you don't really understand the reasons behind this.
I'm trying to be as objective as possible, really. But
don't worry, he's not listening to this podcast for sure.
But I don't think there should be any negotiations done with Putin. I think he really has to be...
what does it mean, no negotiation? To fight back and that's it? To see who wins?
Okay, don't want to say this on podcast. I don't... okay.
That's okay. If you don't want to say it, that's fine. That's okay. Don't stress yourself. I know it's hard to talk to a guy like Putin. He doesn't seem like a guy you can have a nice chat with. I wouldn't know what to tell him either.
Yeah, I really seen so many people suffering. I wouldn't even want to talk to him. I would just want someone to pull a gun on him. And just get rid of him forever. But when it comes to negotiations, I would of course demand withdrawing the forces, as any Ukrainian would do, because it's just not a matter of of talk or a question to surrender and to give Ukrainian territories to Russia. So that wouldn't be an option at all, by any means. If there should be fight, then I know that I and every other Ukrainian would fight for our freedom first. And withdrawing forces would be the main criteria.
And what would you say now to your Ukrainian fellows in Austria?
I would like to say that every one of us is doing a great job so far, helping the community, volunteering, working tirelessly on providing any kind of help, be it spreading information, providing shelter, donating money, going on demonstrations. And I see that the Ukrainian community is very united now too. And I think we are also contributing a lot to maintaining safety in Ukraine, as much as we do, really, as much as we can. So yeah, we should definitely keep this work going on and help our fellow people in Ukraine. And we are doing it.
I wish you the best of luck, and I really, really hope this will be over soon, in a good way.
Thank you. I also, we really want peace. We never wanted to fight anyone, and we don't need that. We are not thirsty for blood and destruction. So I also hope that it will be solved in a peaceful way very soon, because this is the highest priority of any of us, to keep peace and safety. So I hope that the government, the politicians, they will solve the things diplomatically first. But until now, I really hope that people will speak up and show their support, express their support, and provide help as much as they can. But the peace is the priority.
You really helped us a lot today. It was a great chat with you.
Thank you so much for having me here.